In the early 1930s, the Nazi Party rose to power, supporting German nationalism, global expansion, and racial purity. After the defeat of Germany in World War I, many anti-Semitic Germans blamed the Jews for their loss in the Great War. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party seized this opportunity to begin the systematic persecution of Jews in Germany. As their empire expanded, so did their prejudice and hate. On September 1, 1939, Nazi Germany invaded Poland, marking the beginning of World War II. Only 26 days after the beginning of the invasion, the Polish army, outmatched by the Germans and Soviets, was ultimately annihilated, forcing Poland to surrender. The invasion of the Nazi regime across Europe brought with it the persecution of Jewish people and led to the creation of ghettos and concentration camps in Poland and other regions. While many people opposed anti-Semitism, not many took action. One courageous individual who fought back against anti-Semitism risked her life for others. Her name was Irena Sendler. Irena Sendler not only broke through physical barriers of high walls and confinement, but she also broke the Holocaust barrier of oppression and persecution to save innocent children's lives.
The persecution of the Jewish people had gone on for several years before World War II officially started. The Nazi Party began the movement of anti-Semitism as soon as they came to power in Germany. In 1935, Hitler passed the Nuremberg Laws, a series of regulations that ostracized Jews, declaring, among other things, that they could not vote and were not legal German citizens. 3 years later, Kristallnacht, or Night of the Broken Glass, occurred, where synagogues and Jewish businesses were destroyed, looted, and burned. The morning after this tragic event, over 30,000 Jewish men were arrested and sent to concentration camps. These concentration camps were developed to segregate, confine, or execute political prisoners, minority groups, or people with disabilities. The Nazis persecuted the Jews by forcing them to wear the Star of David, identifying themselves as Jewish. This act, seemingly simple in nature, led to the psychological abuse and separation of Jews from society.
Over time, Hitler and the Nazis found harsher ways to segregate and persecute the Jewish people through ghettos. Due to the poor conditions within these ghettos, disease and starvation were common. Hunger consumed the Jewish people, which took a toll on them mentally and physically. Incarcerated Jewish people were also forced into labor and were not paid for their work. Officials of the ghettos were only allowed to leave if they had special permits.
They create some what they call ghettos, in other words, enclosed areas, some completely enclosed, others partially so, in which Polish Jews are concentrated.
One of the largest and worst ghettos was the Warsaw Ghetto in Poland. In its 1.3-mile radius, the Nazis forced the 400,000 Jewish residents of Warsaw to live in horrific conditions. Thousands died every month from disease and starvation. This confined area was referred to as closed ghetto, as it was closed off with high walls and only certain individuals had the ability to leave with a permit. Among these individuals, one person used their permit to help save the lives of others, Irena Sendler.
Born in Otwock, Poland on February 15, 1910, Irena Sendler was a daughter of 2 members of the Polish Socialist Party. Sendler's father taught Irena to always respect and care for other people who have different cultures. Sendler stated, "I was taught that if you see a person drowning, you must jump into the water to save them, whether you can swim or not." Her father's influence led Sendler to become the strong, fearless woman who broke through the barrier of persecution, risking her life for others. When World War II broke out, Sendler began working as a social worker in the Warsaw Department of Social Welfare and Public Health. Secretly, Sendler helped operate canteens that went to every district in Warsaw and provided assistance like food and financial aid for people in need. She also worked by making false identification papers for over 3,000 people to help them escape the Nazis.
On November 16, 1940, the Nazis officially sealed the Warsaw Ghetto, and Sendler was determined to help the people inside. Sendler used her position as a social worker to secretly help the people in the ghetto. She was granted a pass to enter the ghetto to inspect sanitary conditions from the Warsaw Epidemic Control Department. When she entered the ghetto, she risked her life to provide food and medicine for the suffering Jews. Eventually, Sendler joined an underground organization, the Council to Aid Jews, or the Zygoda, and became the director of the Children's Division. Putting themselves at constant risk, this group helped provide necessities to the Jews in the ghetto.
5,000 people died in the Warsaw Ghetto every month and many sent to concentration camps every day. Sendler decided to escalate how much she had helped by attempting to save the children inside the Warsaw Ghetto. Facing tough mental barriers, Sendler knew it would be a major risk to enter the ghettos and sneak these children out, as she could be killed for her actions. Instead of shying away, Sendler broke these mental barriers and began to smuggle children out of the ghetto. She could not promise to the parents that they would be safe, but it was the only chance they had to try and save the life of the child. Sendler tricked the Nazis, having them think that she was searching for people with contagious diseases that the Nazis did not want to deal with, when in reality she was searching for children to save. Those she found were smuggled in body bags, potato sacks, and sometimes makeshift coffins. There was a tunnel that led outside the ghetto that Sendler used to get older children out. She did take children out legally if they seemed sick and would hide the healthy children in the ambulance.
After they escaped the ghetto, the children were given fake Christian identities and were placed in safe locations such as convents, orphanages, or with families who were willing to help. They were taught false information such as Christian prayers and hymns in case they were ever questioned by the Nazis. When she took the children to their new homes, Sendler always said that she was intending to reunite them with their family after the war. In the hopes of bringing these families together again someday, Sendler kept the names of all of the children in a jar buried under an apple tree. The Nazis eventually became suspicious of Sendler and arrested her on October 20, 1943, after a year of successfully smuggling children out of the Warsaw Ghetto. She was taken to the Powiat prison, where she was interrogated by the Nazi police, the Gestapo, and tortured to the point where her arms and legs were fractured. Despite the torture she went through, she still refused to give up the names of the other Zygoda members and the names of the many children she saved. She was sentenced to death by a firing squad and was almost executed by the Nazis in February 1944. The Zygoda, at the last minute, bribed the Nazi executor and she was saved.
Sendler continued her work for over a year, all while remaining in hiding as the Gestapo were searching for her. On September 2, 1945, World War II officially ended. After the war, Sendler spent her time searching for the families of the children. Unfortunately, most of the children were orphans, and most of the parents did not survive after the war. Sendler saved up to 2,500 people with her colleagues, becoming one of many Holocaust heroes.
Bardzo złości doprowadzałem przyszłego bohaterka. Jest prawda bohaterka.
Irena Sendler was a silent hero for many years after the war, with her heroism only recognized by those who she saved. However, in 1958, she was awarded the Service of Health Medal in Poland, and in 1965, she received the Righteous Among the Nations recognition. Sendler also was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007. Her story was brought forward by students participating in the 1999 National History Day program when her story was told through a play.
Irena Sendler passed away on May 12, 2008 in Warsaw, Poland. Her legacy continues to live on through her stories and the children she saved. There are several survivors still alive that recognize Sendler for her efforts in saving them, one of them being Elizbieta Fikowska. She was 5 months old when Irena got her past the ghetto walls in a toolbox. Another includes the author, Mikhail Glonsky, who said in his novel Black Seasons, "I owe my life to Mrs. Sendler. She is an absolute heroic person, exceptional."
Sendler faced many barriers during the war. It would have been easy for her to keep her head down and ignore the atrocities that were happening in her city, but instead, she broke through the Nazis' barriers of persecution and hate, risking her own life in the process. In addition to this, she had to overcome mental barriers, putting herself in constant danger. While Irena Sendler did not personally know all of the children she saved, she never once hesitated to risk her life in order to save the lives of those that would have undoubtedly been lost in the process.